Hello, this is Holly Baade, the Joyful Warrior, Spirit Initiated Shaman, and I'm here today to talk to you about the Shaman in You, a 9-level shamanic mastery journey that is beginning with me on January 1st. I would love to have you join me and the small cohort of people that are interested in having an adventure deep into our hearts, deep into the center of our souls, bringing forth our free spirit into the earth, into our magnanimous being of radiant light that wants to feel free to express itself so that we can truly find how to be free spirits here on earth. The program starts with level 1, and that's what I'd like to talk about tonight. To paint a picture for you in what level 1, sensual sight and shamanic flight is like, I'd like to start with a story. When I was just a little girl, I found myself drawn to trees, spending time in the treetops, listening to the wind and the little animals that would scurry past me, feral cats, squirrels. I used to pretend that I was sitting in the middle of the Garden of Eden, and that I was Eve. Especially in this one particular tree that had persimmons, these big round balls of luminous light like sunshine. And I used to imagine that somehow, when the snake was going to come and talk to me, that I would be able to perceive its truth or its falsehood and not be deceived. Well, you know what's interesting about being a shaman? We can actually do this. We can perceive what is true and what is not true. And so we are never deceived. Now, it doesn't mean that we don't sometimes deceive ourselves, because this is kind of a human experience we all have to sort of feel and know what truth is, what the highest potential of ourself might bring, and then choose something less for money, for connection, for approval. A lot of soul loss actually happens because we do this. So the shamanic path is one of reclaiming our relationship with our soul and helping our soul to become once again intact. It's also a journey of opening up our hearts, not just figuratively, but actually, literally. The energetic center of our heart and the physical heart itself is a governor that sort of presides over all of our thinking and our agreements that we're keeping. So we need to learn how to have a conversation with our heart specifically. I wear this jewelry here, which is a little flower that rests upon my heart center, because I always start the shamanic journey process and teaching with asking friends to learn how to see a flower inside of your heart. So let's do that this evening. Imagine a flower inside of your heart. Let this flower take on color and dimension. See if you can feel it like you would feel a flower with your fingertips. Does it have a particular softness or resonance? Is there any moisture or dryness? Let the flower open if it hasn't already. And let yourself come to be as though a small version of you, the consciousness aspect of you. So when this is happening, you could say you would be a shock of light or just an awareness, or you would be a small, real version of yourself that maybe you dress in a different archetypal outfit. Like sometimes I show up like a Native American warrior, which is very fitting for my past life experience and the guidance that I'm given. Also, you could maybe be something that's a little bit more closely connected to yourself in this life. Maybe just putting on a particular piece of jewelry or having your hair be longer. It doesn't really matter what you choose, but it does matter that you take this time, because in a shamanic journey, you want to get visceral. So you want to be able to feel tactile, you want to smell, you want to be subtly touched by everything that is touching you. This allows the experience to become more alive. You know, when we are children, like I was that little girl in the tree, you know, I went with my grandparents and my mother to church every Sunday when I was growing up. So it was very natural for me to imagine myself as Eve in the garden. It's not that common, though, for us to retain the imagination faculty as we grow through schooling, because schooling actually, traditionally, it causes us to shut down those faculties. And it asks us instead to think what somebody else is telling us to think, or to think what somebody else is saying that it is right for us to think, and even memorize, right? So we learn what we're supposed to learn, and then we bring all of this content into tests where we are tested on if we have remembered or if we remembered how to get it right. And so what this does is it shuts down our own effervescent, daydreaming, colorful, imaginative, making creative power, really. And it's so sad because what happens is that when we get older and we find ourselves in later stages of schooling or working, we actually need to draw upon this aspect of ourselves for problem solving, for not being told the answer, but being asked to come up with something that could be an answer or could be a solution to a challenge that we're having without already being given the A, B, C, or D, on the little quiz of life that we're having. So what's wonderful about shaman training is it helps us wake up this faculty again within us, using the imagination as a resource, as something that's necessary, instead of something that we want to dampen and pretend that we don't actually have, as something that is essential to our nature, that we need to cultivate and that we need to use, not just every now and then or when it doesn't really matter, but actually when things that truly do matter are being presented to us. And we can then draw upon our imagination, the pictures that come to us, to give us ideas about how to approach life when there is no answer, but the answers that come from inside. And of course, married to imagination is inspiration and intuition. And these all things work together. So in the shaman training, level 1, sensual sight and shamanic flight, we spend a lot of time doing experiential exercises which turn on the energetic body to be able to perceive the subtle realities through vibration. And then we spend time noticing what our subtle bodies are giving to us as information in our bodies and how it's coming. Is it coming kinesthetically? Is it coming through just a direct knowing? Are we getting lots of visuals? There's no one way that any one person actually communicates with their soul. It's very unique, and it's revelatory, meaning that it is something that we set up the space for to happen, to invite, and then we begin to work with trust and faith and patience with our mind, because our mind needs to learn how to relax long enough that something else can be perceived besides what we've thought before or been told to think for all of these years, dampening our direct soul communication, which is foundational for a shaman. So I just wanted to kind of go over level 1 with you today on day 22 of the sneak peek. And for the remaining time of this sneak peek journey, I'll just be taking 1 or 2 of the levels at a time, and giving some examples and sort of going through it a little bit so you can get a better idea of what to expect. Please remember to ask me questions if you have any. And if you'd like an exercise to try today, I would suggest feeling your feet from inside of your feet and then connecting your feet with other things that are in your home or in nature. Like you could draw an imaginary line from your feet to the ceiling lamp, the light at the top of the ceiling. And you could try to feel the connection between you and a light source in your house that is not on the bottom, but on the top, and just kind of feel that. Or you could take your feet and you could try to go downward underneath your house and connect directly with the energy of the earth, and see if you can feel a little bit of a responsiveness from the feeling underneath your feet to your feet energetically. You could also try doing this with something that's alive, like a plant in your house or maybe a cat. And if you want to share what you're doing with other people that you live with or that love you, you could ask them if they would like to feel their feet from inside of their feet and let their feet touch your feet and feel a connection happening. This is often a way that I begin the growing of the perception from within. It's a matter really of taking the locus, the loci, the individual location of focus from our consciousness and moving it around within our bodies, and then being able to take that information up into our cognitive capacities with vision or words or knowing. And then really shamanic flight is learning how to discern what is a yes or a no, or a truth or a falsehood, like that sensation of discernment, so that we are not deceived. Because in the spiritual world, things might show up and look a certain way, but that doesn't mean that that's who or what they are. Everything has to be felt and tasted really from a vibrational place inside of our body that gives us a response and a clear picture inwardly of what it is that we're seeing outwardly, so that we're not deceived by any outward disguise. And, this is a time in the world when it's really good to begin to practice this in the spiritual world, so that we can also have this capacity in our everyday life. All right. So thank you so much for listening to me on day 22 of the Shaman and You Sneak Peek with Holly Baade, the Joyful Warrior. And I look forward to sharing more. Until next time.